Are you ready to climb aboard the DragonShip?
I've got the power of Thor in my hand. Thunderous hammer that will sting across all the land. I've got the power of Thor in my hand. Lightning strikes as the storm through the valleys of death.
What is going on, everybody? I'm excited for this one. And this topic, short-term versus long-term relationships. It's very important to me. At least it's been on my mind recently. As you guys may know, if you've been longtime members of the DragonShip and viewers, I used to do a lot of these shows months ago, a year ago. And during that time, Thor and I had a discussion. And essentially, I needed to step up in ways I wasn't able to yet. So I ended up leaving the DragonShip, working on myself, and then coming back, as you can see me right here, right now. And that's the example of a long-term relationship, something that you don't. It's worth fighting for. You want to make sure that you keep those types of people around, because when I think about the guys on this panel. It's I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to have the wisdom and the support to really do whatever I want to in life. And whenever I have a problem, boom, they're there to help. And so that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it and dive into messing up the cameras here and dive into, the differences between short-term and long-term relationships, how to understand when something is just transient, where you're just going to know somebody for a little bit, or when somebody is going to be there for life. Because I mean, when I think about those high school friends and college friends that at the time they seem like the best people in the world, but then where are they now? And everybody here on the DragonShip, these are your brothers in arms. These are your brothers for life. So let's go ahead and bring everybody up if we can. What's going on, guys?
That was like the gayest thing I've ever heard.
Is there anything? Is there literally? There's nothing I can do that you.
God, here we go. Here's the emotional roller coaster.
You're on a gay kick today, Glenn.
All right. Shelve it for a minute. Huds, welcome back, man. Good to have you hosting the show today on a serious note. It's awesome. And then AJ, I see you sporting something there. Looking good, Hasir.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Sporting my cut.
Yes, you are. So, yeah, thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys doing the good work here. Huds, it's all yours, man. What do you got?
Absolutely. So I want to start diving into that when it comes to short-term relationships, long-term relationships. And this isn't just, when I say relationships, I'm talking personal, business, romantic, all types of relationships, because I know that there's times where, even when I think career, where you take a job and you're like, I'm not going to be here forever. So how do you determine that? How do you understand that? There's times where you'll have a relationship where it's like friends with benefits, something like that. It's not going to last forever. But how do you determine that? How do you know? Like right now, I'm in a relationship, romantic relationship for over 3 years, and we already have our plans to get married, have kids, all that. But how did I even make that decision? How did I know that this was meant to be long term? And so, at least that's my basic outline of it. But I kind of wanted to understand your guys' perspective. Like, how do you view? How would you define short term versus long term when it comes to these types of relationships?
Well, all relationships are temporary, so you got to understand that. And all relationships need to be valuable, and at least need to be valuable to keep them into long-term relationship status. They don't have to be valuable per se for short-term relationships. In fact, most short-term relationships aren't very valuable, but they are for at least a moment. They might be for a specific purpose, but I think all relationships add something to your life for sure. But the ones that are the most valuable, those are the ones you carry forward into long-term relationships, male, female, and so on,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the difference between short term and long term is like, does she do your laundry and clean up the house? Or, that's something you might want to keep a little longer around.
The value.
The value, yeah. What value does she bring? And that really will determine whether or not she's going to be a short-term relationship or you're going to be in a long-term relationship with her. Does she maintain her value over time too? The value that she brings you in the beginning may be great, but is it still there, years later down the road? I'm not talking about her beauty, because we all know that that's going to fade. But once it fades, what other value does she offer you that keeps you wanting to still invest in her?
That's a great point. One thing that I want to touch on with what you said with that, relationships are reciprocal. So you also have to keep in mind, what are you providing to her? What value are you providing to her?
Mm-hmm.
You ever think about that, Glenn? It's not all about her.
Well, I am the value. So, like,
I am the table.
Like, just me looking at you, that's value that you shouldn't be getting unless you deserve it.
Oh, you guys realize if you're
kinda gay
fulfilling
right
your
there, too.
burden of performance, that is a huge value.
Yeah.
to
Well,
female. Now, we're talking about male female right now.
Yeah.
There are relationships that are brotherhoods, which are male, and those can last a lifetime too. So, yeah, with the girls, fulfilling your burden of performance, it extends. That's a huge value to a woman.
Throughout my life, I've noticed that we can spot very well ahead of time if something is going to be short term. Like if we know something is going to be short term, we tend to not maybe give it our all, and that's not a criticism. And I say this both with regard to women and also career. And so maybe we find a gal like, oh, she's gonna be fun for this or fun for that, but there's enough red flags there that I'm not going to put a ring on that. Well, there are some times in my life where I've noticed, like Thor, when I was struggling career wise, I would get a job and I would just think in my head, this isn't going to last. It's just going to pay the bills till I get something better. But then when the right one does come along, like where I currently am employed now, I know this is a good place to be. I'm going to be here a very long time, and only a really good competitive offer is going to pull me away from this. I'm not constantly looking around trying to get out of this job and level up to the next one. I'm just working on some things while I'm here, and I'm not trying to duck anytime soon.
It's a big one when it comes to career. Because I was thinking about that a lot. In the last 3 jobs that I had, because like I'm now at a place that I absolutely love, and I know I'm going to be here a long time. This place is fantastic. But it was 2 jobs ago where they gave me a. What's up, Nick?
Sorry, I was talking to Terrence Pop in the chat.
Oh, I love Terrence. Great guy.
My bad.
No, all good. Okay, finishing my thought. And I got one of those performance reviews. And you know when you get a performance review, that essentially is like they are pushing you out the door. And I listened to my instincts and my gut there. And I went ahead and I found another job. I got like a 20 grand raise and I was living the dream. I was like, I got out at the right time. Then at the next job, there was a lot of restructuring because I was there for one project, one software project. And once that project finished, it was like a multi-year project. Once it finally finished, they didn't need me anymore, but they didn't know how to get rid of me because you can't just kick somebody to the curb for no reason. Like they haven't done anything wrong. And so they were trying to build stuff up and they did the same thing. They figured out a way to write a performance review. And instead of doing what I did last time, I didn't listen and they ended up letting me go at the worst time possible. And I felt like the rug was pulled out underneath me. So that's why it's just so important to understand, okay, is this, do we both have each other's best interests in mind?
Well, speaking of short-term relationships, we'll get this out of the way real quick. Glenn's OnlyFans manager for $2 says, here to support my favorite client, Glenn.
That's right.
Don't know who this is, but
I do. I know exactly who it is.
And to answer Surge D, Paul will not be on today because he is at his son's track meet, which if you've done track and field in high school,
it's all day.
It's all day. Your weekday ones are like 3-4 hours, but Saturday is literally like 8 a.m. to friggin' 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I'll shout out from the comments section real quick. Leroy Gaines, Based Oracle, and we got Jack Napier in there too. Guys, you're welcome to come on and join the chat. I mean, it's open Saturday morning cartoons here on the DragonShip. So yeah, if you guys want to throw invites to those guys, let's do
Hey,
it.
Leroy,
Hey, can I do a quick I forgot to check. We got hot mics. Both Mike Steele and Glenn Lawrence are slightly hot. So
mine's hot. Hold on, let me check. Hey, Leroy, I'm gonna drop the link for you.
Test 1, 2, 3.
you're better. You're real good.
Cool. Well, Nuke, to catch you up to speed, if you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. To catch you up to speed, we're just kind of talking about like short-term versus long-term relationships, and whether that be, business, personal relationships, like brotherhood that we have here, or romantic relationships. Like, how do you know what's what? And we're kind of going around a little bit. Like, I've got some stories of being burned, which I kind of just shared, where like I did the right thing, then I did the wrong thing. And so what has been your experience with that? And you can pick any of them. You can go romantic, otherwise. But how do you decipher when something is meant to be short term?
So short-term relationships with women, like casual, kind of just for fun, you have to be very, very careful as a guy, right? Because what you're doing is you're playing along, right? You're not, a lot of the times girls have the choice, whether they can settle for a guy or just play the field. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go play the field, right? Because they don't want to waste 1 ounce of their youth that they don't have to on the guy that they're going to stay with for the rest of their life, right? So what they do is like, hey, women, like all humans, have this need to cooperate and to be, maybe submissive for a little bit and help others. And, they like men, despite what they say, they like men a lot. They can't stop talking about us, right? So what happens is they play house. They're just like, hey, let me come over. I'll cook for you and we'll hook up and then we can go for a walk and all that. And that sounds a lot like a long-term relationship, right? Those are the long-term relationship things you do when your girlfriend comes over, your wife or whatever. So you have to be careful because it's not really a long-term relationship. You're just playing house for when she's around, right? So you need to be very careful to know that divide. And one of the ways is just genuine burning desire. And that comes in the form of one thing, right? Is she actively trying to show you that there is no other guy? Is she trying to prove to you and beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is no other man in her life, right? Because if she does all these things for you, but disappears for a week, she's not she's not working to quell that doubt in your mind. Obviously, you're a busy guy. You got things going on. You don't care. You're like, hey, sex is sex. If she wants to come over and cook for me, great. But if you're even starting to get feelings or you're starting to consider her for a relationship, remember, if she's not actively trying to prove to you implicitly that, hey, there is no one else, you're the guy, then it's a casual relationship, even if it's been going on for years, right? This gets a lot of men because a lot of men are just like, oh, I finally broke down. I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said, "Ill, no, no, thanks." It's just like, no, dude, you fell for the woman playing house thing. You have to understand that genuine desire is just that. It's just, hey, I swear, there's no other. I'll do anything to prove to you there's no one else, and that kind of bleeds over to the employer thing too, right? Because if you're at a company and you just get that feeling that you don't know where you stand, you're just like, yeah, there's days where I get praise, but the praise is very far in between, or there's days when they need me and they really rely on me, but that's like only like once a month. Like you get that feeling. So you kind of get your resume ready and you kind of start looking at other jobs, talking to people, because you might get the rug pull, right? Now, if you're working at a company and every day they're just like sending you to training, they're investing in you, they want you around, they're constantly praising you, it's just you just feel like you're important. Then you get that feeling of like, hey, maybe I'm a little neurotic, let me just chill, right? So it's just like you gotta trust your instincts, but also like that gut feeling that you get, you kind of have to be like, maybe I gotta start looking, or not jump ship, but like start setting myself up my plan B just in case. So yeah.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, it was great. Oh, what's up, Jack?
Hello.
Welcome in, Jack.
Hey,
Yeah,
we let this guy in here.
I saw you drop the link. I'm like, is that for me? I'm like, okay. Well, you know what?
Absolutely.
Let me go. Let me take that invite. How is everybody doing this fine Saturday afternoon for you guys? It's 7 p.m. here.
I'm doing
Living the dream, buddy, just like you.
good to
Yeah,
talk
man.
to you again.
Sesame Street is over, so it's about my bedtime soon. So let's get some wisdom in there.
Now, Nuke, I'm gonna slightly disagree just a little bit with the the positive feedback at work, because there is a younger generation of guys that need constant verbal validation, and like my current boss is a former Marine, and I get an attaboy maybe once every 3 months, but it's kind of like getting an attaboy from Gordon Ramsay. If he says you're doing a good job, but he only tells you once every 3 months, that's supposed to last you for 3 months. Because with a Marine, if you screw up, he will let you know.
Yeah.
So
But isn't that also investment? If you screw up and they tell you, hey man, you screwed up,
yes,
isn't that also investment in an employee?
yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on what
care.
perspective is. Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, I don't think that, especially as men, we don't need constant attaboys at work from our boss to let us know we're doing a good job. That's something that I typically see in younger guys who have been raised in like a feminine atmosphere that need constant verbal validation, like good boy.
Yeah, that's
Funny
being pushed
is
a lot
my,
at the corporate environment for sure. I came up in a time that every dollar I got was my compliment. It was my attaboy. Every dollar that was given to me is my attaboy.
Well, it doesn't always have to be verbal. It could be like, hey, you want this you want this job? It's hard. You want it? That's just like, hey, he trusts me enough. Like in the context, I don't mean verbal. I mean like, oh, hey, they're sending me to training, or they're giving me tough jobs, or they're relying on me. Just as a guy, for me personally, if someone relies on me in my company, they're invested. They want me there. They're putting a lot of money on me. They're putting money on the line, the reputation of the company. I'm just like, yeah, they give a shit. So I give a shit. They give a shit. Cool.
Yeah, my boss is kind of like the combination of both, because he understands that he has to give the attaboy, but he is former machinist mate Nuke from the Jimmy Carter. So,
oh boy,
yeah. So he knows how to be a hard ass, and he knows how to play the corporate game at the same time. I love him for it though. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's also Mariners though, right? Y'all like able to switch really fast between.
Oh yeah, and it's like West Coast is a little bit more dramatic in it, because like if you know anything about the Navy, how it's set up, like the East Coast sailors, both surface and sub, are assholes, and then the West Coast are a little bit more laid back. But Submariners have the ability to go from being the nicest guy in the world to being the biggest hard asshole in the world.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. Going back to what you're saying, Nuke, with like let's switch to the romantic relationships. Yeah, like she could be playing house, but does she actually have that? Like, are you just a placeholder boyfriend?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And a lot of times you will be.
I'm guilty of this. I did this recently. Well, not recently. This is like 8 years ago. But I did that type of thing where like my gut was telling me, hey, she only came back because we actually had separated, came back together. She only came back into my life because she wants a boyfriend right now and doesn't have one. And then what do you know? I was on her timeline and she up and left randomly one day.
Yeah. It's just you have to be careful and honestly always keep the door open to seeing multiple women, right? If obviously if your religious convictions allow it, but always have the door open to see multiple women, right? Because you, as a guy, we're human beings. We get, I've had situations where a girl, December of 2022, I had a girl give me $200 worth of Christmas gifts, right? And she came over and she watched me open them, right? And that, as a guy, we live tough lives sometimes, and see someone care that much, you kind of soften up a little bit. 3 days later, she was gone. She's like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So you have to understand that, like, the gifts, the little favors of cooking, the little stuff she does on the side that looks like she's a girlfriend. Think about this. Is she trying to be a part of my life? If she's trying to fit in wherever she can, right? Is she trying to prove to me there's no other men? Right? Because she, a girl that's invested in a guy is not going to make that guy think that there might be other women, other men. That's a risk. That's a stupid risk to take. So that's the biggest thing, right? And a lot of guys, these alpha masculine guys online are like, yeah, I got women doing stuff for me. I'm like, so what, dude? So what? She can be, as soon as she leaves the door, she could be with another guy instantly, right?
It's funny you say that, all Nuke, because today is actually my 3 years that I started my RP journey. Like, I got zeroed out 3 years ago tonight, and she did all that stuff, but yet still had another guy come over. Well, I was out of town taking care of my parents' house fire.
Yeah, and women are good at that. It's just they're biologically designed to make you think you are the one until they can branch swing, right? So it's really what's getting guys the most that are actually dating is misinterpreting signals of long-term commitment, right? Because as a guy, when people do things for you, you're like, oh, they're on my team. They got my back, right? It's very rare that a random stranger does things for you. And then the ego starts taking over, like, oh, I must be that good in bed because she's so obsessed with me, and I'm doing all these things, right? But trust me, that ego will crumble the moment she leaves, and it's going to be a rug pull no matter what. It's not going to be like a month where you just slowly have less sex, and then it's going to be one day things are going to be fine, rug pull, and then what are you going to do, right? So
why is that? Why is it that women tend to rug pull instead of, like, it's never slow? It's always just like that one spark.
Emotion. Slow. We just didn't see it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, the branch swinging is a very dangerous part in a woman's life when she's changing men, right? It's very
that's a life or death situation for her.
Exactly. They're biologically designed to be very extremely careful when switching men, right? Because in the tribal days, Dunbar's number 100, 150 people. When she's doing this, she's calculating a lot of stuff, because if she does it wrong, she can get killed or kicked out of the tribe, right? So when she has to
lose everything.
Yeah, she has to engineer beginning to end the breakup, and the breakup starts 6 months to a year before she actually does it. So she's like, okay, well, what is he going to be doing in a year? Oh, he's going to be deployed. That'll be a great way to keep me safe from him in case he goes crazy. And then she calculates it out, and then that pivotal moment, it's like landing a plane. Flying the plane is safe, and the plane on the ground is safe. It's the transitory period in between takeoff and landing that's very dangerous.
And she makes sure that you don't see it at all. She will do whatever she can to make sure that you do not catch wind of what's going on. Yep. And that's why guys spiral out when it finally happens.
You know what I think with that is I think guys know, but they don't want to admit it. Because like they have that gut feeling. We've all been there where you have that gut
but it's
feeling.
like these are little breadcrumbs
Yeah.
that like don't by itself, it doesn't indicate anything. And it may not even by itself bring up as a red flag. It might be like, it's like a one-off type of thing. But when you look back at all the breadcrumbs, then you're like, well,
oh yeah.
Now,
So you get even more depressed.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I didn't see it coming. But it's just like that's one of the things that like that's why we say assume she's she's not yours, it's just your turn. Meaning that sometimes you just don't have the tools. Life is busy. You know, you got things going on, and then one day she does the rug pull. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be sad. It doesn't mean you're going to, but it just means that like, hey, life, it's not your fault. Sometimes you just didn't see it coming and realize that, she made a decision and a very risky one. And a lot of times it doesn't pan out for them, right? They go with someone else that doesn't, and it's just like, if you, as a guy, think about it like this, you have a job and then the job is kind of okay, but this other job offers you $30,000 more and it's in a better place. And it just looks cool from the outside. You have no idea about the work culture, but it looks cool on the outside. So instead of like leaving this job one day willy-nilly and risking, interview for that job while you're working, right? You even take vacation and you realize, wait, this new job is better. So I got to like slowly slip out of this job, and then one day when you're like financially secure, you got a new place, you say, hey, I'm done. You get your 2 weeks notice. And you get that nice, smooth transition from job to job. And that's how we explain it. It's just don't take it personally. Take it personally, but like realize that it's just women's firmware and it sucks. It's not fair.
Are you suggesting that men monkey branch when it comes to their career?
Sometimes. Yeah. I did it.
I did a year ago.
Yeah, I did. I'm in a much better place. Look how I live. It's awesome. So
I left one company for another company for a 22.5% increase in pay for less
what can you do, right?
But like we talked about gifts and things like that. Are any of you guys at the point where when you get expensive gifts or whatever, your alarm bells go off?
Yes.
Like where it's like, okay, well, what do you want? Maybe that's just me because of my upbringing where it's like gifts were kind of used for bribes. And I have one ex whose mom I just did not trust for the sole sake of that she would kind of give me everything I would want. It's like, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? I'm like, I don't trust her. Like by default, I didn't trust her. So now when a girl buys something very expensive or whatever, it's like, whoa. Like, first of all, how did you get that money? Like, that's number one. And then two, like, why did you buy me this? Kind of thing. Well, of course, maybe you think I'm great or whatever, but you can show that in other ways. So
gifts are for the giver, so they can get that reaction out of someone. Like they give you a gift so you can see, and it's for them, right? So it's a lot of times gifts are just. It's nice to receive a gift, but
every
time for me is the best.
Almost every gift.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, thank you. Almost every gift I've received from a woman has been a miss. I am notoriously difficult to buy for, especially when they try to buy me clothes, and I'm like, I would never wear that. But like one of the worst ones was it was the third date, and I walk out on my porch one morning. There's this giant box on my front porch, and it's a gaming chair.
Oh, nice, dude.
I don't like gaming chairs. I think they're stupid. I hate them. They're gaudy. They're ugly.
Sorry.
And so she bought me this gaming chair. It's like a $300 gaming chair. Number one, I gave her my address so she could come over. We could have dinner and do whatever else we wanted to do.
Video games, of course, board games, Monopoly. As adults.
No, not that.
Snakes and ladders.
But be strip Monopoly.
But she used my address to buy this expensive, and she worked at a nail salon, so like $300 that's like 2 days worth of work for her. So why is she dropping $300 on me? And I didn't like it anyway, and she took advantage of knowing my address. So I took it to the UPS store. I said return to sender, and I was just like, babe, nah. And I blocked her. I said, don't ever talk to me again. So that Yeah,
Damn,
that
you
set
are
off
cruel.
How old was she? May I ask?
23.
Really
Yeah,
Interesting.
interesting.
When a woman thinks she's giving you a practical gift, that's really rare.
I always like the handmade gifts, but maybe that's me.
Yeah,
I would rather you
practical
cook
gift, yeah.
something. But what it showed me is that I know how many hours you work, I know how much you make, and you just bought me a $300 chair. You are not good with money.
Oh,
Why
I
you-
wouldn't even go that far. It's like more like, what? Like already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Third date.
Too quick.
Third date.
Oh, third date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really was overinvested in you.
Mike,
Speaking of
when's the Gumroad course for sex dropping? You did something there, man. You did something.
Sex dropping?
No, the Gumroad course for sex. Like, let women buy you $300 chairs. Like, you got to teach the people, man. Teach the people.
There you go.
This is suave interior design.
Well, speaking of over investing, Jack is Glenn's best scene buddy, Cappy's favorite. Glenn's OnlyFans manager for $2.
I am indeed Cappy's favorite. That is true. The man just can't get enough of me.
Apparently, Glenn knows who this is, and we do not. And then Glenn's OnlyFans manager again, $2, blowing the whole film budget here. Everyone here gets a free subscription per Glenn.
Oh, awesome!
That's sweet.
Nice.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Glenn.
Thanks, Billy.
I'll watch that shit.
Thank you. You're really selling it, Billy.
He's actually giving money to troll you. It's like, Jesus.
Oh no, Billy
That's
Blue
the
Balls is
definition of
amazing.
retarded.
So good guy.
But yeah,
I think the most
clothes
important-
especially,
The most important thing, just to give my 2 cents on this, when it comes to gift giving, I think it's more about the pattern of behavior than it is the gift.
Yeah.
If she naturally enjoys giving gifts and she gives gifts a lot, then yeah, getting a gift shouldn't be it shouldn't be unordinary. But if she doesn't typically get you gifts and then gets something big, when the pattern of behavior has changed, that's when the alarm bells should be going off.
Well, so to her credit, on our first date, she brought me homemade cookies.
Red flag.
Red flag.
How is that a red flag?
No,
I
see,
totally
for-
disagree with that.
So
I would
for
love
me,
that.
That's a green flag. It wasn't
Yeah.
a whole
Like,
box.
this trying to poison me already?
No, I see that
Trying
as like
to
a
fatten
sign
you
of
up?
like cluster B.
Oh, what's up,
like,
Paul?
Hey, look who it
Hey.
is.
BPD or HPD.
Hey,
But like gifts could also be a distraction. Know what I'm
Possibly.
saying?
I see you.
Where it's
Paul.
like it's distracting you from certain behavior. So it's like that's why I'm so not hesitant. What's the word I'm looking for? Taken aback by maybe
Cautious, yeah.
cautious with
Yeah.
gifts where it's like I'm missing something and this might be a distraction for
Trigger
or
some hypervigilance.
where it's like to not notice something because she's giving me gifts. How could she be bad? It's like, yeah, that's kind of.
I'll say this: gift giving, a girl giving you gifts, is not a substitute for female competency within a relationship. Right?
Fair.
If
Yep. Women will use gifts to just like they use sex.
Yep. Don
Yeah, I
DeMarco, Nuke.
They will use gifts just like they use sex. So, they'll use it as a form of manipulation and a way to distract you from what you were mad about.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you these tickets to your favorite band. Are you still mad at me?
It could also be a form of a covert contract,
It is. Yep,
Women do covert contracts just like
yeah,
men
so
do.
like in a week you'll do something that she wants to do, and you're just like, "Fuck!" Well, she gave me a gift, so
Well, remember we went to your thing last week, the tickets that I bought you? Don't you want to take me to this thing this week? No, I don't.
my mom does that shit. Like relationships aside, my mom does that kind of stuff. I did all this stuff for you. You owe me this. Like, no, I don't. I don't owe you. I don't owe you that.
That's why you don't like gifts.
Yeah.
You give me a gift, I'm thinking something suspicious. I'm like,
There's actually guys that do that.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
guys are bad about it.
They are.
It's one of our biggest covert contracts that's tied to the burden of performance. We
I
give
bought
gifts
you
out of-
dinner. You owe me sex.
Yeah.
but guys also do it with the other guys. That's the other thing. They do it with people.
Glenn
that they
says,
work
"I
with.
bought you dinner. You owe me sex."
Damn right. Paul, turn around.
Don't let Glenn buy you dinner. No, it's okay, Glenn. We can just go for drinks, please.
Oh,
No.
don't worry, I'll slip something in your drink.
So Aria, no, a gift from a good intended person is unconditional. A gift from a ill-intended person who's doing a covert contract is conditional. So like if you give your son, say you have a kid, right? You have a 16-year-old son and you give him a car, could be a used car. You give him like a used Camaro for his 16th birthday. And then like a week later, he cheats on a math test at school. You don't take the Camaro away forever because he cheated on the math test, because the Camaro is a birthday gift that is separate from a punishment reserved for cheating on a math test. Maybe you take the Camaro keys away from him for 2 weeks, but you don't take the car away forever because he cheated on his math test. That's the difference between a conditional gift and a non-conditional gift.
You know, Mike, winners do find a way to win, though. So
yeah, I know, like winners win. So
yeah, winners win. So is it really cheating if it's helpful?
But you don't. But so like a wedding band, that is conditional. It is not a gift. It is a symbol. So that's where a lot of people think, oh, well, that's a gift. I get to keep it forever. It's like, no, you don't.
Point, Mike. Yeah, that is such a good point. If you guys remember when Mia Khalifa did that video months ago or whatever, talking about her collecting wedding rings from her 2 divorces so far and like her 3rd one from engagement, like that's conditional. That should come back. You don't keep that because it's a sign of something. Yeah.
Texas, Corey Wayne and Corey Wayne and How to Be a 3% Man talks about that. How he had a girl that all these guys were always proposing to her, so she had a engagement ring collection. It's like, no, that's not. Why women shouldn't? I mean, they shouldn't even have that kind of thing, but women keep that shit all the time because it's like, hey.
Yeah, there's like an actual law.
Like $100,000 in jewelry.
Yeah. And they say women are bad with money. That's a retirement fund right there.
If, so like with Texas, if you get engaged, there's an actual law on the books for this. If you do not get married, the girl has to give the ring back. But if you do get married because she fulfilled her end of the contract,
it's just signing the paper. That's it.
Yeah.
Sign the waiver.
In my case, I got the ring back, luckily.
But yeah, if you leverage a gift against someone to get something out of them later, then it was never a gift. And that means you did it with ill intentions and it was a covert contract and you're a shitty person.
That's why I if you give with 0 expectations.
Yes.
Like if I give somebody money and somebody's like, oh, hey, can I borrow $20? I don't let them borrow money. I'll give it to them. Because if they decide to give it back to me, that's fine. That's on them. But when I give you something, if I do something for you, it comes with no strings attached. It's not like, okay, I'm expecting you to do something for me now. Like that, there's people like that in this world. My mom was one of them. That was horrible. And even people, your favorite, you could be your favorite influencer. There's people in this space that'll do that, and they'll set up these covert contracts. And it's just like, hey, you got to be careful who you work with and what you get out of it. And you know why they're giving it to you. You should ask yourself when you're getting like someone's like going way out of the way for you or giving you a really elaborate gift. What's attached to that?
Honestly, you know what? Ryan Stone's like that. Not to call Ryan out, and this isn't a bad thing, but I am a fan of Ryan's, you know, so whenever I have him on my show, I'm always like singing high praises, and he's like, shut the fuck up, dude. And I'm like, man, let us fluff you up a little bit. He goes, look, I don't take compliments well because I always in the back of my mind am thinking, what do you want out of this? You know, and that's something that maybe he needs to work on.
We made a joke about that in his chat. That's where the best couch in the world came from.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I'm not a coach. I'm a couch.
But
men trust each other more when we give each other a hard time. That's like our vetting. You know, if you meet somebody, if you meet a dude out of nowhere and he's just like, dude, you're amazing. All your content's amazing. You'll just see him as like a consumer, just like a dude that likes your stuff. But if you see a guy's like, hey, dude, I like your stuff. Like you were in the Navy. Like that's kind of gay, bro. I'd be like, okay, I get that.
Yeah. We're cool now.
My most cherished moment in this space was about like maybe the first time I ever did a show with Ryan, and I punched it live too soon. And all of a sudden, like he's like, "Are we live?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You goddamn fucking retard." That was just I still wear that with a badge of honor where it's like,
yes. Yeah.
Honestly, the most honest gift you'll ever receive from a girl is probably something sexual, I would say. Because it's very emotional and it's very impulsive, right? If I'm not always honest, like it means anything beyond, it's just in the moment, right? Like if you come home one day and she gives you a blowjob, you don't have to think about anything because it's a blowjob. There's no, you're just like, I'm getting a blowjob. It is what it is, and she can't take it back.
"Where's my wallet? Where's my wallet?"
I mean, your wallet is on you at all times.
Check your drink. Check the bottom of your drink. See if there's
Yeah,
like
nope.
a pill in there.
I would say it's not. I don't think it's necessarily a healthy mindset to always be looking at when someone's giving you stuff. To always look at it like, okay, what are they trying to
What's
get?
their
at
angle?
me?
Yeah, what's their angle?
Yeah, because I mean that just sets you up mentally to just think that everyone's out to get you, and that's not always true.
Hey,
Right, but if you
me
get
I
blindsided by a
resource
Mack
psychological
truck,
trauma.
Paul.
What's that?
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh,
I think it depends like on the character. Like
yeah, if you get
just
blindsided
watch
by
how
something
they
massive.
move. Like how do they move outside of the gift, right?
Yeah.
Like how do like besides the
Exactly.
gift.
It's like
It's not just one thing. There's multiple data points that you're gonna have to use to come to a conclusion. All right. Now, if some chick that you're going on a first date with brings you homemade cookies, no, I ain't tasting that shit, bitch. I want you to take a bite first.
Out of all of them, you take.
I want you to take one bite out of all them cookies. I want to see how long it takes you to fall asleep.
I mean, I know this probably wouldn't be considered red pill, right? But I typically try to give most people the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise,
Same.
And I think a lot of people would argue that that's not a good way to go, that, you should really, distrust them first and make them prove themselves. But it's like, I don't know. I can't live my life that way.
I'm in the same camp as you, Paul.
Like the same thing. Like you just trust but verify.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
As I get
like
away.
you just hope that they do good, and when they show you their true colors, don't be surprised. Like you didn't know them really well to begin with.
Yeah, you're gonna be wrong sometimes. It's part of being human. It's not a big deal. You move on, dust off.
Yeah, people will show you who they are eventually, but usually most people are on their best behavior when you first meet them anyway. So you really don't know who you're dealing with anyway until you get to know them a little bit better.
Like, especially with girls, when they put in the effort, you just want to believe. It's like you kind of know deep down inside where it's like, oh God, I'm stepping into something, but you want to see the good in people, and then a couple of months later, you go like, and that's what you get. Like your future self looks at your past self lying there on the floor, all maimed and beaten up, where it's like, ha, told you, bitch. But kind of happens to us all. It's like, it's like, because I know the AWOL thing, but there's also like this NAWOL, like going black pill or whatever, or full MGTOW, I think is a bit of a shame. Because just because you got burned once or twice doesn't mean you will get burned every time. Like, yeah, you will learn from it. Yeah, you will be wary because of it. But it doesn't mean everybody's evil or out to get you. Now, unfortunately, because of those experiences, you act from the perspective of like, okay, this person might burn me, but it also keeps you kind of safe. But it shouldn't skew your vision of everybody.
I
But
agree
most
with
people are assholes.
I agree with that.
People,
I would
what a bunch of
actually argue.
bastards.
I would argue that some of those short-term relationships that don't pan out are some of the most important relationships we have in our lives, because they're the ones that shape our core and our character.
Yeah, that certainly happens for sure.
I just got to say this in terms of things ending too. We write books and movies and plays and all that stuff about how love or relationships end, and how it's like this big romantic kind of like sad tragedy, and it's like everyone's involved and everyone's sad. But I'll tell you right now, most relationships end very quietly and just like very unceremoniously. right?
Fade away.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, one of the reasons they end like this is like we were talking about gift giving, all that stuff, is because you swear your brain is designed to make connections and to rely and trust on people, right? When you have a girl in your life that's doing things for you, you put her in a box of person I can rely on, right? Or you have a friend or a family member and you get betrayed by them and it hurts so much because you put them in a box where just like, whenever I need this person, they'll be there for me and I'll be there for them. And when that person goes away, it's a big void. You're constantly looking to replace them right away because you're just like, crap, I'm vulnerable now because this person, I thought I could, trust them for this or that. And I just want to say, like, be careful with these short-term relationships with women, right? Long-term is also dangerous, but short-term, you need a lot of discipline because right now women have a lot of control and power in the sexual marketplace. And if they want to leave you and go party on someone's yacht, they will do it, right? And
I would actually,
yeah.
Go ahead. No, I'd say you have to do the exact same thing with men as well. You have to be cautious of it because one thing I've noticed is with the short-term relationships with men, which we all have, is, you really haven't crossed that threshold where your word is your bond. You're all kind of positioning yourself, right? Like a bunch in the hierarchy of things that matter. And sometimes you'll think the guy's really cool, but then a lot of gossip goes out behind your back with these short-term relationships, and you need to that can harm your relationship and or can take away respect from others. So you got to be careful with that as well. I noticed with the long-term relationships with men, the trauma bonding guys, that's a brotherhood for a lifetime. You see it with
combat buddies.
That's credible, and it can still form, and that's where you get this relationship with those guys is your word is your bond. That's a hell of a relationship too.
You get held accountable a lot in the military.
And they hold each other accountable. Right. I don't think we talk a lot about that, but we've talked about brotherhood before on the DragonShip. I think some of this stuff is actually can be translated to the short and long-term relationships with women as well.
Yeah. You just got to understand there's just some differences and understand too, like women are infallible. They make mistakes. They go by their emotions. Right. And it may seem like a girl's really, really into you and she really wants you, but realize that people have a need to, just like when you see someone struggling with some groceries, you want to go help them. It's like you're deep within you. You want to run to help them. You want to hold the door open. A girl wants to come over and do something for someone besides herself because the whole world is telling her, take from this guy, take from this institution, take advantage of everything. But she's going to, at some point, she is going to have to do something for someone else or she's going to get very depressed. Right. Yeah. So everything from women that used to be strippers to church girls that I've dated have all had this one need very quietly to do something for me, even though it wasn't a serious relationship, but because they had no one else to do it for. And they were just like, finally, I can do this. I could do something for someone besides myself and feel a little bit more human, because that's the big lie of social media is you got to take from this person. You got to be selfish and you got to live for you, bro, and live for you, sis. But then when it comes down to living real life, if you never do anything for anyone besides yourself, you're going to be very sad and depressed. You're going to feel useless. And women are told, that's why it's very strange now that women they're bringing cookies to first dates, because
she just wanted to poison them. Let's just get this straight.
But
it was a good cookie.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. But
here's the thing, like I tell people this, like, don't ever expect people to have your best interests at heart. All right. It's like your wife, your girlfriend, your best friend, your business partner. Don't think that. Don't be comfortable with that. People will always do what's in their best interest. If it's in their best interest to please you or to do right by you, then if they value that friendship, then they will do that. If they value that relationship, then they will do that. But once they don't, or when they see some better opportunity come by, they might jump ship, and you have to be okay with that. You might not do that. That does not mean that they are held to that same standard.
Yeah,
but that even goes back to Machiavelli, the prince. Well, those who are good will suffer under those who are not so good. And you can you can actually go 3 ways with that.
That's a whole lot of fun right there.
Yeah, I know. Like one side is completely ignoring that, like completely ignoring it, like Machiavelli is an idiot, blah, 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 blah. The second one would be acknowledging it and take it as advice and heed it. Or the third one is, well, you know what? Nobody's good, so neither am I going to be.
Yeah, that also gets tiring. Like you get pushed into a corner. You think the whole world's out to get you. That's no way to live either. You know.
No, but you just got to be you. But it's like we don't set yourself up for failure by having these expectations on people that you can't guarantee. You don't know. So if people do good by you, you're like, wow, you're just always surprised. You're always like happy about it. Why? Because you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
It's
Lower your expectations.
Yes, just lower your expectations. Like once you start expecting it, like people not to burn you, and then you'll get mad when you get burned.
Honestly,
like
I mean that sort of goes hand in hand with guys and being successful in dating in general, is letting go of that attachment to outcome. You know, because a lot of guys, like every girl they start chatting with online, they immediately start visualizing being married to this chick and having 25 kids and a white picket fence. It's like, you haven't even gone on a date with her pal. You know, let's
you
take
haven't
it.
even seen the starfish
Slow
yet.
down.
Let's take
it's the male
take it back a
version.
step. You know, let's take it step by step. You know, and
It's the male version of the hamster wheel, and then she ghosts, and then they're crushed.
yeah, because they're emotionally invested in someone that didn't earn that emotional investment yet, you know? So it's all got to be test for interest, test her ability to follow your lead, you know, test her investment level, you know, and that's it. Until she shows that she's not doing those things. And then it's like, okay, well, this just isn't going to work out.
and if you do get played, laugh it off. Like, damn, they got me good. You know, that was good. Like, I get played all the time. It's okay. You know, just whatever. You're a human being. You're a dude. You got things going on. Sometimes you don't notice the signs. When someone plays you or tricks you or, you know, leads you on, you just laugh and be like, not bad. I'm impressed. And then you move on. You know, amuse mastery, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like the concept of there's no winners or losers, right? There's only winning and lessons. Like, so you get with somebody or you become friends with somebody and stuff doesn't work out. You're like, well, okay, well, I learned from that. I won't do that again. No problem. You know, like sometimes you got to touch the stove before you know it's too hot.
Yeah.
You got to be okay with like being the ass, being the butt of the joke. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. It's going to happen. And you know what? You might end up putting somebody in that position too.
Nah, I sure have.
You know, it happens. Yeah. We're not perfect, and we can't read people's minds. And you know what? Again, we're also going to do what's best for the individual. Everybody's going to try to do what's best for the individual. It's always us first. Can't help anybody unless you help yourself, right? So people are always going to have that, like, what can I get out of it? Or what can I, you know, what's in it for me mentality. And you have to understand, like, that's okay if people think that way, because that's natural. It is what it is.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And one thing I wanted to say on it, this isn't just exclusive to men. I'm actually working with a woman right now through the dating coaching, and she's the same way. She gets like hyper emotionally invested in every single match and every single date that she's going on, and she can't like she can't let these things go. And so then she's going through these cycles of like every other week where she's like going through this like massive loss, but it's a massive loss of something she didn't have yet. And so, yeah, I think it's a natural skill that everybody needs to learn and be aware of that people don't really think about.
Yeah, taking the L is very important, because I see people take L's in very bad ways. They embarrass themselves. Like, oh, this girl didn't go on a date with me. Let me text her about how shitty she is as a person because she didn't want to go on a date with me. Like, dude, no. Like, you're just embarrassing yourself. You're confirming her suspicions that you're a complete beta, and you're wasting everyone's time, right? Realize
or they go public with it and they like try to shame them or attack them or lie about them publicly. Like that's stupid stuff. Like, you know,
like Patrice O'Neal says, just take your ball and go home.
Yep. You got 2 of them, so go play with them.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? Here, so we're talking about relationships, right? And I stole Hud's notes because he's away. But when do you know it's time to stop fighting for the relationship? You're in a long-term or either one, either a short-term or long-term relationship. You get to a point where you're like, you know what? I'm not going to fight for this anymore.
I think I can answer that one, Glenn.
Go ahead.
So for like short terms, I would say, because of being in this sphere and listening to all you guys and taking their notes, if you frame yourself in a mental point of origin and you're in a short term, you're going to be indifferent whether she leaves or not. You're not going to be heartbroken. It's when you get into those long-term relationships that you end up becoming like you feel the damage from that. I can understand that. But when you stop fighting, I actually want to say is when you become apathetic to the relationship if you've been in a long term. Like you really don't care whether it starts or ends or continues on and ends.
You know, have any of you guys read Dread yet by Ryan?
I just started.
No, wrapping up Frame.
Yeah, I've read it.
Yep. Yeah. So Ryan talks about this in Dread quite a bit, right? He talks about at the beginning, you're just trying to get scores on the board. Your wife is dunking on you all the time. She's putting all sorts of scores on the board, and everything you do doesn't work, right? So all that kind of first part of the book is starting to basically regain frame and get back to where you were, right? And then you start to notice whether your wife starts coming along for the ride or not. Does she start following? Does she get on board with your program? And that's when you start noticing who she really is. You know, does she start coming around or does she not? Is she really just a shitty wife? You know, you got to understand, like, sometimes you just made a bad decision and you picked a shitty girl, you know, at some point. But one thing that he points out that I never thought of before is that sometimes when you're in those types of relationships, they make a really good sparring partner to practice game on because they've seen all your bullshit, right? And so if you can get good at like her shit test when she knows, you know, your stuff, and you get really good at that, it becomes a really good sparring partner for when you actually go out there and you meet a girl that has no preconceived notions of you. Which is so that was an interesting concept in that. But yeah, getting back to the original question, it's like you just got to see if she follows your lead at some point, and when she doesn't get on board with your program, like that's when you know she's just not it. You know, she's just, you picked wrong, man.
Yeah, that's something too that I don't think it's addressed enough in this space, because we always talk about like how like women are bad or this happened to me or divorce or anything. We also have to take personal accountability. We were the one who chose that person.
Bingo.
Right?
Yeah, you're the common denominator in all your failed relationships.
Yeah.
I like direct game in short-term relationships and long-term relationships. That would be my first go-to, and then it would be ghost.
I love your story, and Thor, I hope you don't mind me. Well, maybe this isn't directly related, but some of the, like, I guess you could say dread or reverse shit tests or things like that and spiking emotions. I'll never forget this story that you told me where maybe your girl goes ahead and cooks a meal for you. Like, let's say she just like cooked a burrito, puts it in front of you. And then you tell the story. You're going to tell it better than me what the line is.
Well, it in the context of it was in the context of emotional spiking. How do you do that? How do you keep a long-term relationship going? Because as soon as you get boredom, you'll get complacency, right? And when you get complacency, what do women hate the most? Getting bored. All of a sudden, they're in the context of, well, I love him, but like a brother. You don't want to get there. So how do you prevent some of that? Just a minor example is your woman is making you breakfast burritos. I mean, they're really good. They got the bacon. They got all that stuff. She put so much effort and love into this so that you can carry it with you and you'll always have your calorie count ready to go, whatever it is. It could be anything that she made. So a nice little emotional spiking that I like to do that's actually quite genuine and it works really well is I'll look at that burrito in her presence and take a bite of it. And then I'm just going to sit there and almost act like I'm choking on it and it tastes like complete dog, you know. Right? And she's going to panic. Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Happens every time, right? And I'll set it down, and so I don't even know if I can take this to work, because as soon as I take a bite out of this, it's so good it makes me horny as hell, and I'm going to tear all your clothes off right now when I take a bite of this. Now you see demeanor go from really not good and not certain into something that she's very proud of. This has a very long lasting effect. Now, this is just a minor example. You can do this in many different things, and it doesn't have to be over the top. It can be very subtle. This is some of the fuel that you can keep a long-term relationship really active and energetic through, hard times. But it's up to you to do it. She's not going to do it. You're going to have to lead that emotional spiking. And where guys make the mistakes, they go a little over the top with it. And then it's really obvious what's going on. You got to get a little of that roller coaster going. So that was kind of the example, Huds.
Yeah. I love the example. Another way of doing it. I think this is such an important tool for guys to have. Don't be manipulative, please. But even well, with good intent. So like, let's say that she gets dressed up for the night and comes out, and you look at her and you're like, you're wearing that? And then she's gonna freak out. And then you're like, no, honey, you look gorgeous. I'm just shocked. You're beautiful.
Exactly. That's exactly the concept. You can even say, yeah, you can't wear that because you're not going to be in it too long around me. Same concept, right?
A lot of guys I've noticed get upset with the fact that we do have to do that. We do have to take that lead because that's a part of our burden of performance. And they're like, well, why can't she do that so much? Because women aren't built that way. Women are passive. And if you want that to happen a lot, date a man. It's just that women aren't wired that way. And as soon as you understand that and you realize it's your job, then it makes things a lot easier.
Depends on the girl. Depends on the girl. Some are more some compliment you more than others. Like, I've had a girlfriend before, although like I said, every now and then I thought it was a bit too much. Like, I'd walk downstairs and I'd have a button up on and blah, blah, blah. And she was completely flabbergasted. Like, oh, you look so good in that and blah, blah, blah. At a certain point, I was like, what the hell do you want? Like, shut up. But to get back to Glenn's question, like, when do you know you don't want to fight for it anymore? I think when you don't want to do the emotional spiking anymore.
I agree. When
you look at this person and you just go like, you are such a headache. I have so much trouble with you just for the simplest and nicest of things that I just don't feel like gaming you even anymore. It's like, no, we can't even have like a normal conversation or like be somewhere in a normal fashion. Why would
when you're sick of her shit?
You feel like
kind of like that.
Rock up the hill.
Yeah, you're just in that you've just given up. Where it's like, why would I even bother? Like, you don't even like them anymore. Like, that's the end of Dread, where you look. What was it? Maybe your wife is just shitty or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, am I putting in so much effort in for this?
Yeah.
Like,
that's when you know.
It's I call it the Forrest Gump moment. Remember when Forrest Gump was running in the middle of the desert and he just stops and he's just like, I'm kind of tired. I'm going home now. And it just gets to a point where you're like, you don't even care about whether it works. You just don't care. Like, you're just burnt out completely.
You tried so hard. You tried fun. You tried fun and amusement. You even tried the emotional spiking, but all of a sudden you say something wrong there as well, or whatever, or she gets insecure, or you name it. And you're just like, I'm going to go home. I'm tired of running.
Epiphany when my ex, we stayed together 10 months after the whole cheating thing. And then it was right before we broke up and we had a big ass fight. I went and actually got a hotel room. Even though I own this house, this is my house. I went and got a hotel room and that's when the thought came in my head. I'm like, I'm done with this.
You got that peace in that hotel room. Yeah, it was so quiet in your hotel room. You're just like, man, I could do this forever.
I'm done. Pretty much. I'm just like, all right, if she leaves, she leaves. If she stays, she stays. I don't freaking care anymore. I'm not going to bother.
I'll come independent. Yep, I'll come independent. Yeah.
Here's AJ. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yeah, exactly. My basketball. Yeah, it's tough because when you're in a long-term relationship, you have a lot to lose, right? Even if yeah, even if you just have a girlfriend, right? Her stuff's probably at your place. You probably met each other's parents. Your lives are intertwined to a point where it's, breaking up is a difficult, long, painful process. And not even speaking of married. So ultimately, I would say first is like they say in the Married Red Pill, own your shit. Are you doing your job as a man first? Meaning, are you in shape? Are you, striving for better? Are you actually giving a shit about your own life, right? Because when women don't trust the captain, they're going to nag the captain because they want to steer the ship in the right direction. So they'll just nag you to death until, because they're scared because they don't think that you're taking the ship in the right direction where it's supposed to be going. So I would say, like, hey, do passive dread, get stronger, get more jacked, go to the gym more. And if she still doesn't respond to you becoming a better man and fixing and shaping up, then she never liked you that much in the first place, and you have your answer. And you can be like, okay, well, I'm done.
Yeah,
you're
That's
doing her a favor too, because she's not.
That's where the concept of the stay plan is the same as the go plan, though, because you can't be doing all this stuff and getting jacked and going to the gym because you're trying to change her behavior. No. You got to do it because, you know what? I let myself go and I need to fix me, because you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. So you got to fix your shit, own your shit, right, Nuke? And then it's like she either gets on board or she doesn't. But either way, you're going to be fine.
You're going to be alive.
No matter what. You're going to be fine no matter what.
So yeah, Paul, let me comment on that, because you said the go plan is the same as the stay plan.
Yeah.
That's kind of works for both short-term and long-term relationships. I always describe it a little bit different in that you should have an eject button prepared and ready to go, whether it's short-term or long-term. You should always have an escape plan in your back pocket. You should be thinking about how that should be done so that when you're highly emotional and things went wrong, you have actions to take so it doesn't devastate you, particularly in a long-term relationship. You should have always review this every so often, and it can be a very simple plan, but you should always have an escape plan. Now, I've had, especially the ladies, really get upset about that, because it's like, oh, well, you're planning on it coming apart. It's like, no, I'm preparing for a disaster that may never come. It's like having, some extra water and extra food around. If something goes south, it's like being prepared for something. At least that's how I would describe the go plan's the same as the stay plan. You're always ready.
It's like insurance, right?
Right.
You're planning for the worst, but hoping for the best. Right. But hope isn't a strategy.
Yeah, you got to never get yourself into anything that you can't walk out on 30 seconds or less when the heat is around the corner.
Glenn is quoting those movies.
Yeah, Heat. That's Heat, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best line from that movie.
It's often the first covert contract guys discover in themselves where they start this whole journey, and they often do it to get their wives back to sleep with them. And then they slowly but surely realize where it's like, wait a minute, I'm doing this all for her, but I'm getting nothing from her. And then they realize, like, hey, wait a minute, all this effort I'm putting in, I'm doing it for somebody else to get a response out of them. Why am I not doing this all for myself? I feel great. My life's been getting better. Why do I even care what somebody else thinks? Like, they start, and then the snowball starts to roll when they make choices more and more for themselves, because of themselves, to get to the ultimate mental point of origin. Praise his name, our Lord and Savior, for the concept. And they slowly but surely get there. But it starts with that first covert contract, which is the effort they put into themselves. Often they put in for their wives. But what do you do when your wife's gone? What do you do when your girlfriend's gone? Well, you're appointed to yourself. Who do you want to be?
And here's a guy who knows a lot about that. Shout out to George Bruno. Thank you very much for swinging by our podcast today, for waving from the shoreline at the DragonShip as it passes by. We will not pillage your village today, Sultan. Thank you very much. Real quick, before we get to the super chat, George, my mother watches and listens to you. I don't know what that means, but I wanted to let you know that.
She touches herself, George.
George, for you. I got the vortex method going.
I guess you can call George Dad soon, Mike.
I don't think my mother is his type. So
And for sure. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
oh, Huds, by all means, sir, take this one.
What? Rusty
Super
Fuel? Hey, at least Cookie Chick can cook.
There you go. Hey,
Shame this
that's something.
horse.
Oh my god. Okay, I was mixing up Cookie and Coochie
And
from
Nuki.
when we were talking about it. I was like confused. with
Hey,
that.
bro,
That's
yeah.
the truth. Hey,
Whoa,
that's
whoa,
the truth.
whoa.
She can cook. I mean, that type of thing. So like there was this story back when I was still dating. Like I am monogamous now. I'm very open about that. But back when I was dating, I had this one girl. She was a DoorDash driver, and so when she like finished her shift, she brought sushi from the last restaurant that she had visited, and I thought that was such an amazing first gesture. We had a great night. We had great sex. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, like I said, Paul, because you were a little bit late to the show, because you're better than us apparently.
I'm too good for this show. No.
But no, first it was a Hispanic, it was a Latina gal, and on the first date she brought a couple cookies she had made. She made a whole batch, but she only brought 2. It's not like she brought me the whole box. But the whole point was that okay, that's cute and nice. But then on the third day, after the third date, she bought me like this $300 gaming chair and left it on my front porch. She had it like shipped to my address.
That's fucking creepy,
Guys,
dude.
don't sleep on Latinas. Do
See?
not sleep on those Latinas.
It was creepy. It
Yeah.
was creepy. So
That's a bit much. That's
Yeah.
a bit much.
yeah, so that's what we were talking about. So she is cookie chick because she brought cookies,
Yeah.
but then she cranked the gift giving up to 11 after the third date. No, like a $300 gaming chair. That's we've been together for like a year and a half kind of thing, maybe, you know.
There's something
I
where
just don't understand.
there's
That's like your
something to be
first
said with the
Christmas.
girl's investment level, but good lord, that it becomes like crazy stalkerish obsessive at some point, and I think a $300 gaming chair is at that point.
Yeah.
I just don't
I mean, it
understand why
depends. Like maybe you gave her some like amazing D, like D she's never had before, and she's just like, "Hey, I want it. I'm cashing
I've
in."
got to keep.
not
I've got to
wasting any
keep
time,
this
right,
fee.
Glenn?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
we
mean, hey.
we hadn't yet. We hadn't
Oh,
yet. That's the
okay.
whole
Then
point.
Oh,
That's-
okay. So
that's
then
red
she's
flag
trying to give you
galore right
to
there.
give her a baby. Never
Yeah.
mind.
That's what I'm thinking too. Baby rabies.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question
Baby
for Glenn,
trivia.
just to jump back just a little bit. Tradcons, you've hung out with the Tradcons quite a bit and understand that mentality quite a bit. And you've got to meet Mr. Michael Knowles. So
Yeah,
when
he's
it comes to
nice.
these
He's my
long-term
brother.
relationships, you know I'm a proponent of having an escape plan or eject button, right?
Oh, I am.
I
I'm all
think
about
so
that.
too. Now, the Tradcons absolutely hate that. A lot of folks, oh my God, that's the worst thing ever. You're just horrible if you have an escape plan. But let me pose the question. Why do they get so mad? I wouldn't get into a F-22 super fighter and go at Super Cruise Mach 1.6 without the afterburners, mind you, and not have an eject seat.
And a
I
pair
think
of-
those
they're
Tradcons,
kamikaze.
hang on, with those Tradcons, is they think you're not fully committed to that aircraft. So get the damn ejection seat out and get that added weight out so I can get a few more miles further into enemy territory. Is that what they're thinking?
Well, it's I just look at them as kamikazes. They're like they're on a suicide mission. Like they know the odds are against them, but they're so committed to their ideology with it. It's that you're not real unless you are willing to die for this. Or, you know, at the end,
Like
of
a
it.
gang. The same thing
Yeah,
with a gang.
it's like you know, and it really when you think about it, if you really think about it, when you are at that level of commitment, right? Where you're like, there's no way I'm here for her for till the end of time. Nothing she could do will ever make me leave her. Blah 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 blah. And you go Michael Knowles route, and then she leaves you.
Yeah. And you realize that
And then when
by
she leaves
refuting-
you,
by refuting that
you
ejection,
don't want to live anymore. That's why they self-delete. They don't want to have to continue living knowing that they just been living a lie. And they could have avoided this.
They had no identity
Yeah.
outside of being husband, father.
There
and
was
realize though that you know they really reject our position on having that plan, but that plan actually it's a description of passive dread. It is a part of dread. And here's the thing: it's inbuilt to a woman to always have the ejection.
Yeah, women always have an
Men-
escape plan.
Men abandon it immediately.
Yep.
Proof is really easy. Who files the most for divorce?
Well,
Who's
see, the thing is,
for breakups, men typically will stick it out and they'll drive that plane right into the ground.
well, men abandon their their parachute, their ejection plan, all that stuff to show commitment.
It's the wrong thing to do.
But women don't do that. Women do not
They don't
abandon
recognize
that.
They do not
They
recognize.
will not abandon that to show you that commitment. You
There
just
was
gotta trust them. You just gotta trust what they say.
There was a trad femme on Twitter the other day, and what she said, she's like, "Dear future husband, I'm never signing a prenup. It's for life, bud." And when I saw that, I was like, "Yeah, I mean, everyone gets married expecting it to be for life, and it's for life until it isn't." And that's really what it comes down to. It's for life until it isn't. And it's like, who decides? You know, sometimes it's the guy, most of the time it's the woman, but at some point it might end. And if you don't prepare for it, you're just ignorant.
There was one guy spurging out on Twitter, and he said basically getting a prenup is like planning for divorce. You're planning for failure at that point. So then it's guaranteed. And so then I told him, so by that logic, getting health insurance is planning to get sick.
Correct.
And then he
it's
said,
like,
and guess
It's
what
not
he said?
rational.
Guess what he said? He said, well, that makes no sense because marriage isn't contagious. Marriage isn't a disease you catch.
Divorce
Divorce is very contagious. It's the most contagious disease. There's
social disease there is. Yep.
160% chance higher if your wife's friends are divorced. That's
We've done shows on this and showed all the studies. It absolutely is a social contagion.
Technically, children are sexually transmitted. So
yeah, it's sexually transmitted shit.
But it's like there's a difference.
Damn, I need to transmit more.
There's a difference between.
We'll at least practice because I got the snip. You know what I mean? We'll practice.
Just get my reps in. Just get your reps in.
Should be required along with DNA testing. Men just insist.
Yeah.
But like there's a big difference between expecting divorce and preparing for
There you
it.
go.
Like you prepare for like to be like health insurance. You prepare for the fact that you could be sick. Prenup is the same thing. You prepare for the possibility that you might fall out of love or whatever reason you might have not to be married again. There's like the people who oppose it where it's like, yeah, like you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst. It's not
There
bad.
you go.
It's like it's like gun control, right? Have you ever seen the
I'm
people
European, sir. We don't have guns.
Yeah, because you suck. You're European. We have all the guns here, baby.
Unfortunate boating accident. I lost them.
But have you ever heard the argument, right, where they're like, well, I don't want a gun in my house because I don't want to live my life in fear. And it's like, I'm prepared, not scared. You know, if someone
That's
comes
a good one. I'm prepared, not
if
scared.
someone comes bashing in my door in the middle of the night, I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm going to be okay because I have a fucking shotgun right here.
I love it.
Are you going to feel as prepared? Like you're not, you know, who's going to be scared at that point?
So,
But Paul, you value.
You know,
your
the funny thing
guns
is,
more
when
than
you're
their
scared of
lives.
something, you tend to focus on it. And by the law of attraction, if you're focused on it, what happens, Paul? You're the expert here.
Anyway,
Yeah, you get what you focus on.
Right. So if you're prepared, you're not going to get that. But if you're scared of it, bam, it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
that's the
Mike-
thing, like. Oh yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Just real quick, Michael Knowles' logic was basically, my wife won't leave me because the church won't allow her to.
That good
Right.
work, buddy.
That's what some of these trads want. They basically want to entrap women and basically force them into slavery. Like,
I mean,
you
I'm
know?
all for for
God.
sex slaves. You know, I'll take like 5 or 6 of
Yeah,
them if I
they're
can.
basically for human trafficking.
Yeah,
That's-
like as long as they're willing sex slaves, they have to be willing. They have to want to do it. You know,
Like if
Yeah.
I wanted to dig
And that's
deeper
not
into the
slavery anymore,
Catholicism
right?
of it,
It's worship.
I mean, if you want to dig deeper into the Catholicism of it, basically the logic is that if his wife initiates divorce, she will be excommunicated from the church and she will go to hell. So her wife will never divorce him out of fear of her eternal soul going to hell. Like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, but then what?
theory that they want
This
to
is
see
what ends up
opposite.
happening. They don't get divorced. They live in the same house, and now they're in a sexless marriage. And then he gets busted for watching porn, and then now he has to have that counseling session. That why are you watching porn? Why are you bringing it? Yeah, it goes down a long road.
Well,
really
it goes to the next issue now that women's innate biological firmware and gynocentrism are more important than the church and the God. We see that all the time, right? Women will come out to defend ex OnlyFans whores who are disingenuous in droves, but they will never, hold up their own female counterparts accountable for this kind of behavior, right? We're like not having sex with your husband, not doing your wifely duties, right? So what ends up happening is that women need to create a reason in order to leave you, because they can't just leave just because. So they have to create a narrative, and that narrative is usually abuse, right? So what we're doing is we're creating victims, not female victims, male victims, right? Because look at Steven Crowder. Now he got labeled an abuser, a monster, right? Which basically he was just, maybe annoying or something. But that's what we're doing. We're setting up women to use their creativity and the leverage they have and the social power they have to create egregious reasons to leave men, right? Because they can no longer just leave men just because they don't love them anymore. Now they leave men because he was an abuser, or he did this crime, and then eventually what we're going to do is like, you're just destroying marriage more, because now you're making villains out of men that don't deserve it. What is that? The end game of that is everyone leaves the church. So congrats, Tradcons, you did it. No, men are not going to church anymore. Thanks, you did it.
Yeah, but what was it again that Steven Crowder did? He told his wife to wear gloves or like walk the dog.
I don't know. It was so insignificant. Maybe they had other problems besides that, but
he told her that she couldn't take the car. He's like, look, you're not taking the car. You're not going anywhere. You can go walk the damn dog and clean up its shit. All right, that's your job, woman. That's what he said.
Yeah. And
it wasn't quite like
Said
that.
he needed the car for something, so there was a little bit of a tussle there.
Why do they only have one car? They're
he was recovering from something.
Yeah.
He had that
but that was a narrative
chest thing, right? That chest surgery.
Yeah, and then the narrative
Heart
was
surgery, right?
Yeah.
So now, maybe she divorced him in court, right? Whatever. But now she has to answer to the whole TradCon community.
No, but they're
backing her.
They villainized him.
Yeah,
he was the bad guy, and it's
because he's the man.
He wasn't a good servant leader.
So you have to create a Twitter. She created a Twitter with his last name still, and now saying all this stuff like, "I'm so glad I survived, and I need support. Thanks for all the support, everyone." And that's what you're doing.
I even said
as a
that
guy, as a guy, I see that. I'm just like, why can't I just get divorced and just, hey, you don't love me anymore? Great. I'm going to do you a favor and set you free. You don't have to be my wife anymore if you don't love me. I've tried everything. I've done what I'm supposed to do. You don't love me. Hey, can I at least see my kids once in a while? Sure. Okay. Well, have a nice day. Good luck.
No,
and
but
I want to point something out, Nuke. I'm going to highlight Aria's post right here. Yeah, we leave men when we don't think you can be followed anymore. See, this is a very common thought, but this is when they don't think it is when you don't agree with them, when it's no longer when it doesn't fit what their outcome is. You may want to say, hey, you know what? I got a job offer in New York. Got to move across country. No, I don't want to leave.
Wrong answer.
Yep. But then I can't follow you. I can't trust you anymore because I don't think you're doing what's best for us. Like, that is a common theme. Like, as soon as you disagree with them, now they question whether they think they could follow you. And the church kind of co-signs that. Very sad.
Yeah, when her answer should actually be, when do we leave, babe?
It's like, do you want me to start packing now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good point, Glenn. Thank you.
We kind of, apologies to Huds. We kind of like got off on a bashing the TradCon tangent here.
Yeah, exactly. Can we?
Hey, I'm totally cool. This is a very natural flow.
I mean, we got to talk about it because this is like the long-term relationship stuff.
Yeah.
Like, are you in a long-term relationship? Are you in a contract where if you don't act right, you'll get let go at any moment, right? Same thing with your job. Same thing with anything, right? You want to have leverage in your relationship at all times, because at least if you have the leverage, you can make a decision that's best for everyone. Women can't do that. They will always do what's best for themselves, right? They don't give a shit about the children sometimes. I wish they did, but at least as a guy, you have a little bit of morality that you can be like, okay, if I have leverage in my relationship, I can at least guide this ship to where at least my kids and she will be happier than if we broke up completely. You know, you have a little bit of leverage. And if you don't have,
I really don't think they do. I think you're right. They don't care about the kids. I mean, just look at the number of parental alienation and stuff like that. They don't really care about the kids, you know, and that's the sad thing. And they're so solipsistic in their when it breaks down, is that nobody else matters but them.
Yeah, for the war. Yeah.
No, that's a good point, and this is really important stuff. Let me do some housekeeping really quick. Let's shout out the chat. All right. I mean, first of all, Blake's pipes, it goes right to the top, even though he didn't super chat. He's got 2 motorcycles, guys. I mean, what are we going to do about that? I hope the pipes actually make the right sound. Okay. So with that, also, Elena's bars. Elena, thanks for joining us today. Wayne Smith, everybody in the chat, thanks for joining. I hope you're having a great time. If you are, man, type in there that you're enjoying the show and that things are going great. I have to get back to us. Guys, the super chats are real important to keep this going for everybody. I can tell you, every one of the guys on screen right now has a YouTube channel. We're broadcasting live to all of them because the DragonShip, I mean, its philosophy is that we're the rising tide that lifts all ships, and you're a part of it as the chat. Ask questions, send a super chat to any of the channels that are here. Pick your favorite and go for it. Pick your fighter and go for it. That would be the best way to do it. So I wanted to shout out the chat and just make sure that you guys are having a great time too, because that's what this is all about. A bit of tongue-in-cheek, Saturday morning cartoons here on the DragonShip. Said my piece.
Fantastic. Yeah. I don't know if I had some. Oh, the one thing that I think gets lost, and that's what's so frustrating when we talk about, like, whenever you are a part of the church and then you get divorced, it is always the man's fault. But the way that long-term relationships work, you will have fights, you will have ups, you will have downs. It's how you deal with those downs together that determines whether that relationship strengthens or falls apart.
Yeah, conflict resolution shows the strength of a relationship, not like the Instagram pics and that adulation of the person you're dating or married to. It's conflict resolution, right? A lot of people don't understand conflict resolution, and they always go to "what about me?" And sometimes you just gotta look outside of yourself and be like, man, maybe I am being kind of a dick, or maybe you're just like, maybe she is being a kind of, because there's guys that worship their wives and they can't, like, hey, maybe your wife is a bitch, and maybe she's just not a good person. It's hard. It's not easy for guys to come to their conclusion, right? Because at the end of the day, we just want to be appreciated, and we don't always get that. So,
and that's where your brothers come in, Nuke. I will tell you this, Huds, that's a great point. And as a man, you set that pathway right up front in the short-term part of that relationship, so that you do have good conflict resolution as you move forward. I mean, we hear a lot of guys that do the short-term thing, and you're going to be in that for at least 6 to 18 months before you move into the real long-term part. And it's almost impossible if you're doing it long distance. So, I mean, you have to, as the man, set that conflict resolution framework right up front. Would you guys agree or disagree? That's your responsibility.
Oh,
it's about
100%.
setting the tone and leading from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll make the difference when you get into the LTR and it gets really shitty. Because if you haven't set the framework, I mean, you're in a big storm with no oars and no rudder.
You can get it back, right? But I think that it's a much harder,
very painful. It's a
much harder process to try to correct that once you've gotten to a point. A lot of guys will also start off with being pretty good leaders, being pretty alpha, quote, right? And then they'll let themselves get beta-tized through the relationship. Those are usually pretty easy to correct. But if you're kind of you're not a leader, you defer to your girl's authority from the beginning and stuff like that, and then you try to fix it, 10 years down the road, it's like she doesn't believe that's who you are.
Yeah,
You know?
that's going to be a bit of a process. It's going to take some time to do an
Yeah.
identity shift like that.
Yeah.
It is slow and drawn out and very risky too. So
It's not impossible, but it's uphill battle, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've witnessed it successful, but it is not an overnight thing, and most guys just want it fixed like that.
yeah, it probably takes a lot of outside coaching too. Check in with people. You know?
Yeah, and some trial and error, but it could be done, you know, if you're really, really committed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to, I'll let you go ahead and shout these out.
You take this one, I'll take the next one.
Hold on, here, let me play this.
Yep.
Shame this horse.
Yes, there we go.
We'll give these two an Odin at the end, too. All right.
Yeah, appreciate you, Atlanta. Love you guys. Amazing show as
And
always.
Paul.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And for this one, Christopher Walken is in the house.
Yeah.
Christianity Unplugged, give us $10. Heading out for lunch. Appreciate you guys. Don't buy the TradCon false hope. Churches need to hold women accountable first. Pow!
Shame this horse.
We need to start teaching self-accountability. That's where we're really going to take some traction.
That yeah, because there's a lot of guys that don't have any accountability either. They're always pointing the finger at the women. It's like, bro, hold yourself accountable. Go to the fucking gym.
Yeah, and the church gets, I think the church gets gatekeeping and accountability confused. That's my sense, but I'm not sure about that. Here, let's give an Odin out. That's for you, Steve Sandman. $10. A man needs to challenge her and be dominant from the beginning. Let's just do this. If she doesn't have experience of being corrected, he will have extreme difficulty leading in a crisis. I actually agree with that. That's a very good point.
Yeah. And essentially what we're talking about is just setting boundaries from the beginning. One of the things I was thinking about when we were talking about conflict resolution is when I get into a fight, it doesn't matter how bad it may be with my girl. The next day, we're back to normal. Or if it was that bad enough of a fight, we will have the discussion then. But we don't stay angry. We don't hold it against each other. She doesn't do what I've experienced other women do in the past, where something happens and then she'll continually bring it up every single time there's another fight to try and gain leverage in the situation. And those are the types of women that you want to be around, the ones you want to do a long-term relationship with, ones that are not going to hold things against you, ones that can actually have a mature way of resolving that conflict.
Wow, Huds. That's one of the biggest ones out there that I talk a lot about.
Hey, Leroy, go ahead and
that is a interesting concept, because if you have an argument or any kind of conflict with a woman, short term or long term, and she holds a grudge beyond that 24 hours, you're looking at somebody that has some issues. So always use that as a caution. So wow, that's a good point, Huds.
It's not really my point. You were the one who pointed that out to me when we talked a couple of weeks ago. So I give you credit for it.
All right.
Oh, and don't be afraid of your woman's emotions. Right, that's a big thing. Your woman will cry. She'll yell. She'll do all these things. You are rocks. You are a rock. You are rock solid. Right, because if you do give into her emotions, you're rewarding her. You're teaching. Yes. You're conditioning a human being to be like, if I do these things, he will respond. Right. Whenever she starts, she'll be mad, and then she'll use tears, and then she'll get all these emotions, right? But honestly, sometimes, a lot of the time, I would say most of the time, women just want to vent, and you just listen to them. Right? It's not about the nail; it's about how the nail makes her feel, right? So you just let her talk, let her get out of her system, just agree. You give her a hug, she'll even be in tears, and guess what? In about 15 minutes, she'll forget about it.
Right. Yeah, see, I always ask him like, hey, wait a minute. Before you start, I need to know, do you need me to feel this or do you need me to fix this? Like, let me know how I need to approach this first. Because guys, we just naturally want to just go into the game, just start fixing shit. They start bitching, we want to fix it. Because like the quicker we fix it, the quicker they stop the bitching. And more likely than they'll get in the kitchen and make you a sandwich. And you want your sandwich. So you're like, all right, let me fix this. But no, they just really want you to feel it. Yeah. And you have to be aware of that.
Just
I
don't
have
get
I
it.
have a self-criticism along those lines, Glenn. And this is for me. And I know this is a flaw that I have. You'll hear a woman vent a lot. That's important to them. And one of the things that I've done that's really not good is to start vent about things, minor things that are going on for me, getting frustrated and venting. That's not good in a relationship. I can vouch for that. When you vent to your girl, it is not a good thing. You don't even have to be venting her. You can be in the other room and start bitching about something because you want to vocalize something. That generally is not a good thing either. They absorb that shit way stronger than we do.
You're
That's
also kind of
nice
acting
thing.
like a woman when you're quote venting.
Oh, thanks for saying that, Paul. Appreciate that. Look,
Let me tell you something.
I bare my soul to my brothers, and here we go.
Welcome Leroy to the stage, you guys.
Leroy.
I did a stream with him in Base Oracle 2 nights ago.
Yep.
He called me out. He's like, Glenn, why are you so emotional, man?
You are emotional.
Shit.
No, but he like no. So I want to throw this question to him. Like, how do you deal with like when your girl's getting emotional, or how do you manage your emotions? You know, when things are like escalating and you just like it's chaotic. How do you try to just remind yourself to stay stoic, or how do you check yourself?
Trying to stay calm. It's about trying to lead from the front, really, gentlemen. You know, just going on what you were saying earlier, I try not to share any sort of negative stuff. I work in construction. I work with men all day, and I don't do any real venting. If my missus asks how my day was, I just say it was grand every single time. I don't really go into any detail. I'm bringing down the tone, and then I'm essentially venting, which is a very feminine trait. I'm trying to lead by example by just saying everything is fine, because if I can give off the vibe that I'm able to support myself and, you know, just keep pursuing regardless of what's hitting me, I think that's the best way to lead by example.
I want to add on to that though. Because we had this happen, I think, yesterday in Beer Club, and I'll keep it very high level and not name any names. But there was a guy who was having a very tough time, and that's one of the reasons why we have groups like Beer Club and the Dragons, right? Is because there's a time and a place for a guy to express his emotions, and it's not good to bottle it all up all the time. That's how guys end up zeroing out because they think they have no outlet for that kind of stuff. But your girl's not it. Your girl's not the right place, right? If you have a therapist, cool. If you have a coach, cool. If you have a good group of bros, cool. That's a good place to talk things through and get things off your chest and come up with solutions. But a big problem is guys don't have any friends. You know, guys have no one else to go to. They only have a girlfriend or a wife, and so they end up just dumping all their emotional baggage on her, which ends up becoming unattractive behavior because you're essentially acting like a woman. It's like she needs you to be her rock. It doesn't work the other way around, you know. And as soon as guys understand that and realize that, and that there are proper outlets and improper outlets, they'll do much better in life, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like what Leroy said. You guys have all heard me say this. This is my moniker is I'm living the dream. Mm-hmm. Always living the dream, and I know the secret to living the dream.
Nightmares are dreams too.
Yeah, nightmares are dreams too. So we're always living the dream. I love what Leroy said about that positivity. Yeah. I slip. I let some bitching go out here and there. I'm just letting you guys know if you do that and your woman's in earshot, it affects them severely. So you have to be cognizant of it.
I have a
Thor, can I share something about this?
Yeah.
All right. So Thor had his surgery. And the only person that was calm about it was him. He's the one joking. He's the one that's so just calm and just like, hey guys, what are you guys freaking out about? Like he's like, this, it's gonna be fine. It's just a little bump in the road. And I noticed, like, I mean, I met his children, you know, I know his kids, I know his wife, and everybody was worried. I was worried, you know, like, and he's the only one just like, yo, why are you guys stressing out? Like, it's gonna be fine.
Thor is the epitome of leading by example.
Exactly.
A guy who doesn't just pay all the shit lip service. He does it.
Yeah. And I noticed that when he told everybody that, everybody else was able to sigh a little bit. Although that they were still worried, but they were less worried knowing that he wasn't, or showing that he was worried if he was worried.
So can we go into that a bit then? And Thor, how did you get to the stage where that was the standard for you?
Yeah, this happened probably. I mean, I've always had some of it, but it's probably became a full, strong identity shift. And, well, I mean, my base operating system probably some 13 or 14 years ago, probably 14 years ago. I'd listened to too much talk radio and the TradCons and all that stuff and all the political stuff in the world, and had drugged my mind into a place where it was just, man, I got all this stuff and this negative stuff hitting me all the time. I got to a spot that said, wow, shut everything off and let's see what actually affects me in my life. Literally every bit of news, every person that wanted to talk about politics or what's happening locally or somebody's problems here and there, I shut it all down and started saying, what actually affects me in my life? Just from an external source coming out. And when I came out of that, I realized that almost everything that you hear and see doesn't matter except for what's right in front of you. And that's when I started living the dream, and I adopted that as my kind of my moniker. And when somebody asks me, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm living the dream just like you. You guys go out there and try that. You'll see them crack a smile 95% of the time. That other 5% of the time, people will say, well, I wish I was living the dream too. And of course, what is your response going to be, Leroy? It's going to be, well, come on, man. Why aren't you living the dream? You don't know the secret? And boom, you can brighten somebody's day a lot doing that. And that really encouraged me when I started engaging with everybody in a positive manner.
I cut out
hope too,
I cut out news back in 2020 during the pandemic, because I used to be overly focused on the news. And when I finally cut the news out and stopped focusing on politics and all the bad stuff in the world, I came to the same conclusion as Thor. It's like, none of this stuff affects me. I don't miss any of it. Right. And it's funny because we're in an election year and everything's about politics. And this is the most important election of our lifetime. It's like, well, if you think about it, every election is the most important event of our lifetime. And it's never really true. And if you take a step back from it and don't focus on it, you find out that no matter who's in office, it doesn't impact your life like 99% of the time. Like the day-to-day crap that goes on in Washington doesn't impact your life at all, Yeah.
Paul, of course you don't worry about it. Your congresswoman hands out hand jobs.
Oh, she's not mine anymore. She's not mine. She's running for a different district. So,
man, you need
because all the conservatives out here won't vote for her. So the Republicans are like, okay, we're going to move her to a district where she can win. It's like,
and by not allowing that external stuff,
it's all bullshit,
So Paul, not allowing that external stuff to get to you, it kind of put me in a position when they came in and said, I basically got stage 4 freaking brain cancer, and we got to go in there and work some shit out, and who knows what you're going to wake up like. It's like, well, okay, then let's do this swinging the hammer. What would it have done for me to have vented my fears or my concerns with anybody else? And in fact, I didn't know what the outcome would be, and I still don't know what the outcome would be. And guess what? Every man on this panel doesn't know when their ticket's going to get punched to Valhalla.
Thor's biggest concern was like him wanting to be like Destiny and vote for Biden.
Oh, when I woke up?
That's what he told me.
What actually happened when you woke up, Thor? What was the first thing you saw when you woke up?
Well, they taken about half the brain, and I just started seeing rainbows.
Oh, no. What did you actually see? What woke you up? It was a special pair of things.
Oh, you're talking when I lost my eyesight. I was telling them and the doctor because I'd lost half the eyesight on the left side. I said everything except a really nice pair of tits at 100 yards I can still see.
Well, it's like Clarey says at the end of his book, Curse of the High IQ. There's going to be problems that are going to grind us down. They're going to be painful that we can't solve. But you know what's going to make them even more painful? Trying to solve them.
Yeah,
right? That was the last thing he said in the Curse of the High IQ, and that I just finished it the other day, and it stayed with me. Like, people don't want to be happy because they watch the news, they take on problems that aren't theirs, they want to save the world, they want to save whatever, and it's just like, hey, some problems just don't have a solution, man, and that's okay. And if you're trying to solve it, even if it's through proxy, like using social media, it's just going to make your life very painful. So focus on the things you can solve. And it's usually only things about yourself and tied to your behavior, right?
Yes.
Control the controllable.
They also always want to figure out the why, too. You know, like when things are like the why, they want to find that answer. They want to look for that answer. They want them to give them that answer. And you know what? You have to be okay with never knowing why.
Yep, especially when you're short-term date. Yeah,
exactly. You have to reflect on yourself. What could you done better?
That's one of the biggest things that I talk about.
Yeah, what about what they do? You have to, as Leroy would say, you got to take full and total accountability.
Yeah,
absolute accountability.
To build on this thing, can I just say that what I think that we're all trying to say here is we need to be the architect of our own frame and not have outside influences essentially build who we are. We need to concentrate on building ourselves up rather than being a reflection of society.
It's kind of
you understand what I'm saying?
In the emotional
That's a good way. Good way.
You are the first. You are the first thought in your mind every day, and how you affect the world, not the other way around. So,
Nuke, you're the first thought in my mind because you're a thought. You little e thought.
Speaking of
OnlyFans.
Speaking of Glenn Lawrence being gay, I think this question's for him.
Yes. All right. Siege, if you're doing hip thrusts in the gym, you're gay. No guy should ever do hip thrusts. Do squats.
You're gay or a female.
Hey. If you're doing them in the Smith machine, what can I say?
Yeah,
if you're doing them on the Smith machine, what can I say?
Thank you for that, CG. $1.99.
That's pretty gay. Don't ever ask me that again.
You can't control the universe. That's basically it.
Hip thrust should always be practiced with a partner.
Spotter.
Yeah, spotter.
Spotter.
A cushion for the pushing.
In the home gym.
Where no one can judge you, right?
Sometimes in other places.
I'm living my truth doing hip thrusts.
The ultimate judgment.
Living my truth. We're having way too much fun, guys.
You should see Paul do his Kanye West workout plan.
What?
It's a good song.
Here we go. We're gonna start the kayfabe again.
Here we go. Hey, new year. We fight.
Hey, I got the belt back here. Come and take it.
You do. Oh,
no problem. I won the fight. It's okay.
But you didn't win the war, my friend.
Oh, I won the war.
You just couldn't get the job done. You know what I mean?
We need that rematch, guys. When's that rematch going to happen?
We need to do a Royal Rumble is what we need to do.
Oh, bingo.
Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hell in a cell.
Hey, so guys, do you guys want to
So Hud, yeah, go ahead.
Hud, it's on you.
What else we got on our list for today?
So with I think we covered a heck of a lot of this stuff. I think it's basically all covered. I'm at the point where, as much fun as I'm having right now, if you guys want to go around the horn with final thoughts and where people can find you, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right,
cool. So let's start actually in reverse. Leroy, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell people about yourself and where they can find you. So go ahead, man.
And thanks for joining, Leroy. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Tell BO he's welcome to come on too.
Yeah, he was busy today. He messaged me. He told me he was busy until like 7 or something like that.
Yeah, we'll be about later. But yeah, you can find me, Leroy Gaines, on basically everything. I don't really make videos. I'm just here to join in at the moment until I can really find my own foundation about exactly what it is I want to say. The reason that I'm on these panels is because steel sharpens steel.
Yep.
So the more I do this, the more I can iron out, my worldview, stress test it with all you gentlemen, and hopefully pass on the best information to the younger gentlemen that really need it. I want to be a force for good. And I think by having open discourse like this, we can all do that and, actually create the next generation of men that isn't going to create the society that we live in now. I think it only takes a handful of really strong men to change the world. In fact, single individuals can do it. And by focusing on ourselves, we can lead the way. And I was saying the other day, I genuinely believe that the pendulum has swung. We are moving into the next stage. I don't think society is screwed. I think it's on the rise. And I think things are moving forward because we have groups like this where we're speaking the right message. And yeah, that's all I really have to say.
Hey, Leroy, in this next crop of men that we're going to bring up, are we going to be able to ban skinny jeans?
They should already be banned.
And man buns. Skinny jeans and man buns got to go.
Yeah, they're effeminate. Not okay with that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I'll drop a link in the chat here. I discontinued my special edition of my book on Amazon. It's no longer available there. So there's only 3 left. I had one person buy it during the show. So there's only 3 left of my special edition book. You can get it on Gumroad. There's a link in the chat. Otherwise, tune into the podcast Monday. One of my 3% brothers joins me, and we're going to talk about deciphering the teachings of Coach Corey Wayne, which should be a pretty fun episode.
Fantastic. All right, Mike, what's going on?
I'm just living the dream, as Thor said, out here in Vegas. And guys, follow me on there we go. Follow me on Instagram, Mike_Steele_Vegas. Whoop, let me get that out of there. And you can also follow me on X at Mike_Steele_Blue Check incoming imminently. So decided to go ahead and get that and join the Nuclear Club. And yeah, I'm enjoying my life out here, just doing my thing. And I think, Paul, if I recall correctly, we got something coming up here shortly, don't we?
Yeah, we've recorded an episode on basically dating horror stories. So that's in the can. That's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks too. That's going to be a fun episode.
Was that dating horrors stories?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Dating whores.
Tell me more.
And we shame them as well. Shout out to Elena.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of good ones, guys. You don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, it was a fun conversation.
Look forward to
it. Awesome. Let's move over to Mr. AJ. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Living the dream, sir. Socials are right there. Next thing I plan on doing is Wednesday night. We should be on Vince's channel, Masculine Geek. Shout out to him. We're going to be doing advanced D&D with Rollo Tomasi as the DM. Then right after that, I'm going to do a live stream of my review of Praxology Part 1 Frame by Ryan Stone. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Good to see you in the cut, kid.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks good.
Shit, let me take this off. Ooh, that's my image.
All right, I guess Nuke's up then, huh?
There we go.
Oh, we got to do this first?
There we go.
Looking good.
Bands. What's a booty band? Glenn, what's a booty band?
I don't know. I think you should ask Huds. Huds does all that gay shit.
Oh.
Okay, Glenn. Wait.
Coach in Philly.
Again, I am the best gay dating coach in Philly, but
Yeah,
I'm also the best. I'm also the best regular dating coach in Philly,
and for single moms too. I mean, you're a one-stop shop for all the way.
Hey, I am a one-stop shop. But anyways, let's move to Nuke. What you got going on?
So guys, we just did a Rule 0 with Terrence Pop. So tune into that for the people who are watching. If you didn't watch it already, it's very important. Terrence Pop is one of the OGs in this space. He had a true John Wick origin story.
Yep.
And he is an ex-Army, ex-Ranger, and we had a great conversation, just some veterans and some guys talking about, experiences and what it took to get us here and all that stuff. So check that out. It's on Ryan Stone's channel. Tomorrow we have Post Zero at 10 a.m. on Jack's channel, the guy who was with us earlier. I don't remember the topic, but tune in. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central, I do the Nuke stream. I talk about game, Red Pill, and other stuff. So, like always, yes, as always, guys, I like talking, but I also like solutions. So I just want to help guys, solution-oriented content, so you guys can move on with your stuff, move on with your life, and stop talking about this Red Pill stuff and go live your life for real. So,
hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes. Hell yeah.
All right. I got to go, guys, but thanks.
See you later.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
See you, Nuke.
All right, Glenn. Let's hear it. What's going on in this Glenn Lawrence world?
Just same shit, different day. Gonna be dropping some more videos. Had a great conversation with Based Oracle and Leroy Gaines here. I'm dropping that in the chat right now, so you guys can check that out. We went on a lot longer than I expected, honestly. And then I just did a stream with the Iron Disciples yesterday, caught up with those guys. That was good as well. But I got some content that's going to be pushing out here soon. Got to finish up 2 episodes of this documentary that I'm working on with Thor. And both episodes are amazing. We had Cappy in one of them, and then we also had Sterling Cooper in another one. So like, these are pretty cool episodes. I can't wait for you guys to eventually see them whenever we decide to, get them out there. But they're going to be on a series. And they're only going to be exclusive on becomedurable.com. So if they're not going to be released on YouTube, if you're going to want them, you're going to have to go get them on becomedurable.com. You guys know that is Thor's website. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Glenn. At least on my end, if we want to switch back the camera here.
Oh,
there we go. So not much for me to say. If you want to reach out for any type of dating advice, Instagram right there at the Hudsman. That's the easiest way to do it. I know we were joking a bit there, but I really do. I can help you at whatever stage you're at, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, you're dealing with a breakup, dealing with divorce. I've worked, as I kind of had mentioned earlier, like I work with women as well. So it really doesn't matter. If you're looking for any type of support like that, definitely hit me up there. And then from that, you'll also be able to see some of the other stuff that I do with my own men's community, which is Men of Now. And it's a collective just like this, just trying to spread good information to the world. Because what Thor was talking about when it comes to positivity, truly my life changed when I only tried to push positivity to everybody else. It becomes a superpower. Everything just gets better. You get happier. Those around you are happier. It's really something. So that's about it for me. Thank you so much for letting me host today and doing this topic, because I think it's a really important one. And I was having so much fun listening to everybody dive deeper into like every little nook and cranny of it. So just appreciate that. And then I'll go ahead and hand it off to you, Thor. You can close this out.
All right. Thank you, Huds. Fantastic job navigating the waters and at the helm. So glad to have you back, Drakkar. And great show, guys. It was fantastic. Of course, my website is Become Durable. Check out my book. And with that, gentlemen, Skull. We'll see you.
Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis. Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.